Hey there folks, Dan Footer with Caliber Magazine and your episode of Gunvote for Thursday, September 9th. That means there's 11 days left in this 44th federal election. It also means that today is the English language debate. So at 6 o'clock Pacific time, we'll all get to enjoy watching the single solitary English language official debate for this election. Last night obviously was the French language debate, which I watched and we will get into. But first, as usual, we'll talk about the polls. I'm going to go straight to seat count on this one using the 338 poll aggregator. So right now the Liberal Party is polling at 142 seats with the Conservative Party at 134 seats behind them. So right now it's looking like a Liberal government. Obviously there's a margin of error in polls, who knows, but that's a good data. Interestingly as well, on the poll subject, Ekos did a demographics poll that was released, and yesterday's data showing vote intent by both gender and age. Interestingly, now none of this will come as a surprise. You find conservatives are generally supported by males. Trudeau has better support amongst women. But once you get into the age data, in that 18 to 34 age bracket, which is an interesting one because they're notoriously unreliable voters. Just stating facts, please don't get angry at me. The big three parties are at 26, 27, 26, so they're pretty much evenly split with the CPC having that single point advantage. But the PPC is polling at 16% amongst that particular age bracket, 18 to 34. The Greens are at 3. So the PPC is polling slightly over half of what the other parties are amongst the 18 to 34 age bracket. Once you get up to the 35 to 49 age bracket, the PPC support only drops to 14, but the NDP support drops to 13. So amongst that age bracket, the PPC is outperforming the NDP. The Greens there, again, are at 4, very, very low. And when you get into the next one, the 50 to 64 age bracket, we won't use any vernacular, they're at 4%, the PPC. So support just drops right off a cliff there, over 49. So that tells you that the data is indicating that chances are the PPC support is more heavily weighted towards the 35 end of that 35 to 49 age bracket. So the PPC is certainly probably amongst the most, hugely representing among young people. So we'll get into that as well later on. Now to bring back the issue around the French language debate, having sat through the whole thing and watched it from a pretty arm's length perspective, I don't think anyone won. If anyone is telling you that there was a clear winner in that debate last night, they're probably just projecting their own political ideals onto that. There wasn't really anyone that stood out. Trudeau had a very terrible repartee with Yves Blanchet, where they were basically comparing how Quebec they were, which I don't think reflected well on either of them. I mean, more so on Yves Blanchet because he represents France or Quebec, whereas Trudeau fawning over saying how Quebec he is. He's born in Ottawa. He always talks about how he's from BC and all this kind of thing. He also represents Canada, so I think that looked quite poorly on him. Blanchette obviously gets free shots. It's French language debate, and the guy only has to look for French vote or Quebec votes. So and when I say French, I'm just speaking the language, by the way. I don't confuse France, the nation, and Quebec, the nation. But there was a lot of Quebec pandering, which that's what you're going to get in a French language debate. But there definitely wasn't a clear winner. I watched it with people and chatted afterwards. I don't think Aaron O'Toole did poorly or terribly well. He did mention child care and recouping funds from the child care program, and that obviously plays very poorly in Quebec, where child care is such a very important component of their governance, with the $10 a day childcare promise already having been made. But interestingly, probably the most interesting thing was sort of towards the tail end of that debate. There was the solitary question on firearms. It was the last question debate. And to be totally frank, I don't even remember what the answers were. But none of them were memorable or all that fantastic. And overall, it didn't seem like there was a huge appetite for discussion on the subject. It sort of seemed like everyone's heart wasn't really in it, even on the attack. So I thought that was quite interesting. Perhaps they've got some polling data that tells them that Canadians are ready to move on that particular front. Otherwise, interesting stuff that happened after the debate as well. Fancois Legault, the most liked politician in Quebec, apparently, the premier, endorsed Aaron O'Toole. Now, that's problematic in some ways. It's good overall because the endorsement came by way of Legault basically saying Mr. O'Toole would be easier to work with than Justin Trudeau, which I think is a sentiment that many people can probably think about headlines that they recall their own premier. Here in BC, we can think of numerous times where John Horgan and Justin Trudeau butted heads. So that's a great line to have out there because it'll make people think outside of Quebec about Justin Trudeau's role in our confederacy or in our confederation. But with regards to the endorsement in Quebec, with the way the vote generally breaks in Quebec, the CPC needs to be below 20 or over 27% roughly. Because what happens when they're in that window in between is they split the vote with the Bloc, and the Liberals claim seats that otherwise would go to the Bloc or the CPC if the CPC is above or below those brackets. So keep an eye if you're in Quebec. Keep an eye on those regional polls because I think strategic voting in Quebec will be hugely important as a result of this. If there is a CPC surge, and obviously if we see this PPC surge continue, which we'll get into later, things will be very different. But Quebec will need to keep an eye on those areas. And if you're a gun owner in Quebec, keep an eye on your riding. And kind of best type thing I can ask for is view yourself as a bit of a agent of information and keep up on this stuff and tell your friends and let them know, like, hey, we're in this riding and this is the way things are looking right now. So for the best national outcome, we need to support this or that is what we need to start looking at. Because as we brought up yesterday, at this juncture, it's less about who you're voting to support and more about voting to ensure that Justin Trudeau does not reclaim the Prime Minister's office. So now we're at the point where we have the English language debate coming up in about 5 hours, which I'm very much looking forward to. And that'll be interesting because if any gun owners are hoping to watch it, obviously you should, but don't expect to see guns brought up. Guns, public safety, and foreign affairs were both not approved for subjects of debate. So guns are not formally supposed to be broached in this debate. They won't be a question tabled by the moderator. Now, that said, I don't think that will necessarily, and I mean realistically, if they want to, they'll bring it up because the punishment will never be as bad as getting it out there. You can expect to see Mr. Trudeau probably make some sort of retort to a question unrelated to guns, where he brings up guns to bring them into the debate, because he will probably try that regardless of what the debate commission rules. So that'll be tonight. Tomorrow we will do another gun vote with, we'll be back with Phil Chow, where we'll be kind of wrapping up our thoughts post-debate, because this will probably be a bit of a turning point in the election, a bit of an inflection point. We saw Labor Day was kind of the first one. The debates are sort of forming the second one. I think we all need to hope that the CPC and Aaron O'Toole can start gaming out some of their answers to some of the questions that they know they're going to face, because some of the replies, he needs to get to the main meat and potatoes of the answer a little bit faster and appear like less of a politician. That would be my only tip after the French language debate. People are, I think, tired of the fast-talking, suave politicians that, will steal your watch halfway through the conversation type thing, and they just want someone that will tell them straight up what they think, and I think that's why you're seeing the PPC surge. We'll get into that more tomorrow, but obviously for everyone today, that's everything you need to know. So 11 days left. Biggest tips for today: if you do anything, if you do nothing else to help us keep our guns, because as we've discussed with Justin Trudeau's magazine capacity limits, everything from your duck gun to your 22 is going to end up having to get a trip to the gunsmith for a job. Look at your local riding. Look at the 338 Canada. It's just, if you Google 338 Canada, it's the first result. Find your riding. Take a look at where the current polls are. If it looks like a situation where you might be in a place where you've got the time and ability to help, these next couple weeks are going to be, or these next 11 days are going to be crucial. Reach out to the EDAs that you might be able to help win, even if it's an NDP type thing in your riding, but help. Because this is kind of a big deal. If the Liberals win, it's going to be a very big change for everyone in this community. So take a look at your riding. If you don't call up the EDA, at least take a look and start talking to your friends about it, especially those that also have firearms and stuff like that, so everyone's on the same page. Work together as a community and build these networks up. That's kind of my goal here with all these videos. So please, by all means, share these with your friends and share the points inside them. Look up your polls and figure it out. Head over to gunvote.ca and register. We've got lots of registrations over there. What that is strategic voting. We'll just be keeping an eye on key ridings where we know there's a lot of gun owners and we might need some votes to potentially change the outcome in a riding. We're going to be emailing folks and keeping people appraised of that situation as we get closer to the election. Other than that, if you want to support what we're doing here, as always, calvaremag.ca/subscribe. Buy yourself a subscription to the magazine that we send out 6 times a year. I'm Dan Fritter. That's been Gunvote for Thursday, September 9th. I will see you guys tomorrow after the debate. Have a great Thursday afternoon, and hope you guys can catch the debates as well. And we'll chat tomorrow. Have a good one.